Hey everyone. If everyone's welcome to the Living Room's first live stream pop-up art studio on Facebook. Now, we're just waiting for everything to kick in here. There is a bit of a delay. So please, thank you for your patience. Bear with us. And this is good because it gives everyone else a chance to gather your supplies, grab a cup of coffee. I've got mine here. And yeah, then we can make some art together. Okay. So, just checking things out.
Mm-mm.
Here we go.
No, it's this one. Right? Let me do it.
Anthony
Export in the
Granny,
corner.
Anthony Granny is helping us out today with this. There are a million things we've had to figure out in the last few weeks. And anything that you see that is working really well with regards to tech, if it's working well, it's because of Anthony, who's been amazing helping us out behind the scenes. Okay, there we go. So we wanted to create this space for everyone where you could come and hang out and make art with us. Doesn't matter if you're a regular to the studio or if you're someone who's really only connected with us online through Facebook. We wanted to create this space for you. Today, we're trying it out on Facebook. Next week, we might hop on over to YouTube and see how it works there. The important thing is that we want you to know that we are here for you in whatever way we can be during this strange time where we are kind of figuring out what connection looks like. And I'm thanking you guys for hanging in there. I want to thank you guys for taking care of yourself. I want to thank everyone who is working hard out there to keep us safe and healthy. I appreciate you more than you can possibly know. I think we all do right now. And we're thinking of you. Okay? Now, today's pop-up art studio is kind of just like an art hangout. Although if you are looking for something to do, a theme or an idea to so that you can create along with us, I was reminded just last week on the theme of gratitude. Well, I'm grateful for a whole lot of things these days, but specifically over on our Twitter art party last Saturday when we asked the question, what do we love about the sun? Things we love about the sun. A community member sent me an image of a gratitude wheel that was in the shape of a sun. And I just thought, maybe that's something we could all focus on this week. I think if you're not already aware of how much we owe to so many people, the people that are behind the scenes that help things run smoothly, the people who identify trouble and help us, help keep us safe. I think, like I said, we're thinking about it now. We're grateful for everything and everyone who's helping keep things moving in our society, in our culture, in our cities. But gratitude goes a lot deeper than that. And I think we can get into that over the next hour or so while we're creating. And if any of you have questions or comments, if you want to chat with me, if you want to check in and let me know how you're doing, show me some things you're working on, please feel free. I think that we can do this in the comment section of Facebook. If I'm not seeing it, or if I'm not responding right away, it might be because of that delay. But we're going to hang in and hope that you're with us and that we're with you. And the more we do this, the better we'll get at it. It'll be fine, right? The other thing I was thinking about today was for those folks who haven't been to the studio in person, you probably don't get the spiel. So everyone out there who's been to the living room, you probably have heard the spiel before. So for those of you that might be new to coming in and creating with us, I'm going to give you the spiel. So you can be just like you're one of the community, you're part of us, you're part of our world. And those of you who know the spiel or when you're in their studio, if you've heard it a million times every single day, you might be laughing right now, and that's okay. I'm getting a hello from August in the Underworld from the puppets. So puppets are watching and saying hello. That means a lot. Thank you very much. Puppets are welcome to make art too. Everyone's welcome. That's why we're here. We're just going to hang out and make art. You can join whenever you want to. You can take a break whenever you need to. Feel free to take care of you. You're the boss of you. Do what you need to do to get through your day. So if that means dipping in for a little while and making art with us and then moving along, you can. If you want to come in and out throughout the pop-up art studio, you can do that too. But for now, let me give everyone the spiel, just in case you haven't heard it before. Okay, so it goes something like this. Welcome to the Living Room Community Art Studio. The Living Room is a part of something called the Art Hive movement, which believes in creating safe spaces where people can come to make and share art for free or low cost. Every community art studio is different. It really looks like the community it sits in. So for us at the Living Room, it was really important that we tried to create a space where everyone, as many people as possible, could come, where we could reduce as many barriers as possible to people becoming engaged and taking part in creative processes, making and sharing art, whatever kind of art that is. And we believe that everyone is an artist. We mean that when we say it, okay? It's not just about Eurocentric ideas of what fine art is or who artists are supposed to be. It's about anything that you create that makes you feel good, that helps you feel better, that helps you tell your story, raise awareness, educate people, let folks know what it's like to be you. That all counts, and it can happen through any creative or expressive modality. So it could be music, it could be poetry, it could be collage, crochet, gardening, anything that you can think of, right? It's not about technique. So when we talk about being an artist, sometimes people get confused and they think because they don't create in the same way that other people create, perhaps they don't create as well as the artist they admire the most, that they are not an artist. That has a lot to do with technique. And developing technique, that can be something that happens anywhere along your creative journey, okay? Technique is not what makes you an artist. Your story, your you-ness, that's what makes you an artist. What you bring to the world, your experiences, how you perceive and experience this wacky world. That is entirely unique, and that's what makes your creative voice unique. So that's what we're looking for when you come to the Living Room. We want to see you reconnect with that voice or exercise that voice, take it on a walk for a little while, and just let yourself play. Let yourself take some creative risks and learn about yourself, learn about other people, okay? And everyone is welcome to be here, and this includes the online art studio that we have here. We just ask that you respect our safe space policy while you're here. So when we talk about safety, we really mean accountability, okay? We ask everyone to be supportive of one another, encouraging, kind, respectful, negotiate consent, which is just another way of saying ask. When in doubt, ask, okay? Most people are really, really supportive and nice to everyone else at the studio. Where we see people breaking this safe space element is really when they talk about themselves or say bad things about themselves or criticize themselves or bully themselves sometimes. So if you're having trouble with the inner critic and it won't let you play, it won't let you enjoy yourself, if it's giving you guff, let us know. Let me know, and I'll talk to it, okay? We'll check it out. We'll see what it wants. If it has nothing constructive to say, I will literally take it and I will throw it out of the studio. So even though we're not in the studio space today, I can still do that, okay? So you let me know if your inner critic is being really loud, and I will grab it. And I could give it to the cats to play with. I could throw it outside in the yard. There's lots of things I can do with it here, but it's just one way of saying, give me a break. I hear you, I know you're there, but now is my time to relax and create and play, okay? Next rule in the studio. If folks come in who've been using or drinking, we'll ask them to come back on another day when they haven't been, okay? And there's no judgment about using or drinking or about folks who use or drink. For us, well, it comes down to knowing that we can communicate with people as effectively as we can. Okay? And everyone communicates in a different way. It doesn't always need to be verbal communication. But if someone's in an altered state due to substances or alcohol of any kind, it gets a little difficult to know what their normal is and to know if they're understanding, if they're able to understand what we need of them to be in the space in a safe way. And because the studio provides that creative space for a lot of folks who are in recovery or they use it for harm reduction purposes, basically it can be difficult to be around stuff that you're trying to take a break from or get away from. So we ask folks to just, come back on another day when they're in a different place. People are super, super respectful of this, and we rarely have any issues with that at the studio. So we're very lucky. People get it. They understand how precious that recovery journey can be for people. And because of that, and because we just have really honest conversations about it, people are really cool. So yeah, that's one thing I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that. Yeah, how cool people are when we can have honest conversations. Okay, next. So this is, add on to that piece too. The same could be said for folks if someone's having a really difficult day with their mental health. It might not be the place for them to be at the studio either. And especially if the art doesn't seem to be helping or they seem to be getting worse. So we'll check in and we'll see what other supports they do have, and we might recommend that they connect with those instead, just so they can have their best day and they can feel as good as they can, right? And same goes for that today. Take care of yourselves as we're working, and if you need to take a break, you need to go visit somewhere else or check in another site, watch some YouTube or binge watch something on Netflix, listen to some music, feel free. And there are a ton of resources out there in case you are struggling and really need to connect with someone to get some support. Do not hesitate to reach out and utilize those services, okay? All right, next. This is the last piece of the spiel, and I promise then we'll get to making some art, and I want to hear from you guys to know what you're working on. The last part of the safe space spiel is, if anything makes you feel uncomfortable or unsafe or weird, anything at all, just not good, during your time with us in the pop-up art studio or at the actual studio, can you let me know right away? I know there's a delay here, so it might take a few seconds to get to me, but please let me know, especially if I'm doing anything to make you feel that is making you feel uncomfortable. In the studio space, it gives us a chance to connect with people and have really honest conversations about how their behaviors or their actions or their words might be impacting us. It's the principles of nonviolent communication, essentially. When you do this, it makes me feel this. Did you mean to make me feel that way? Most times, people don't. People they don't want to make other people feel bad. So basically, this gives us a way to negotiate and check in with people and figure out how we can be more supportive of one another in the studio space. And I think, we can do the same thing online as well. So keep an eye out for those things that might be rubbing you the wrong way, might be making you feel uncomfortable. If you feel comfortable enough to let me know so I can step in and check in with folks, please do. But hopefully we won't have any of that here, and it can just be really relaxing and chill. Yeah? Sound good? Anybody out there? Okay. And thank you for the coffee. I'm going through my Brew Wizards and Deadly Ground stash very quickly. I'll have to go out and snag some more, I think. All right. So, for those folks out here that are making art with me, gather your supplies. I'm keeping things pretty simple today, just using... Oh, it says, sorry, we're having trouble playing this video. Not sure what that means. I don't know. Oh, says that. I'm calling in my tech support, guys.
Tech support.
Tech support, come on in here, Anthony Granny.
Hello.
If anyone else is having trouble seeing this video, or if you can't hear us all of a sudden, let me know.
Are we streaming still? We're watching on another computer, so if my face appears in a few minutes.
Yep.
Okay, I can see the delay. I can see Mary saying, oh, we're having trouble with this video.
It's still going. Is there anyone out there who can hear us? Is anyone else watching? Let us know if things are going wonky. Can you?
Oh yeah, it's still going.
Okay, then I'm going to keep going.
Okay, bye everybody. Enjoy the stream.
Bye, Anthony Granny. Okay, so as I was saying, we've got some supplies here, just really simple stuff. I realized that when everything sort of, the old way of normal stopped. Oh, hey, Anne. Hi, Anne. Nice to see you. We have Anne Bell watching, which is always nice. Another fabulous creative person out there. Excellent. It's good to know that things are looking okay. Yeah, when the old normal shifted and changed, everything just kind of stopped in a very strange way, and I didn't even have a chance to gather supplies. And a lot of the supplies that I kept on hand in my house here are actually at Durham College, because we'd started a pop-up art hive there for students. So a lot of materials that I would normally have at hand here are not here. So I have the basics. Luckily, there's some of my favorite things. I've just got pencil crayons. I've got some watercolors over here that you can't see. I've got I've got a scattering of other weird and random things. If you could see this table, well, maybe it's good that you can't see this table. It's a bit of a mess. All sorts of odds and ends, but today I thought we'd work with pencil crayon or markers. You can do this with crayons. If you're working on a gratitude wheel, like I'm going to try doing, you can use any materials you like, really. You can do this with collage as well. Crayons. This is something that can be done with, you can make one for yourself. You can make one with someone else. So this would actually be a great activity to do with kids, if you had some of those little kids running around, just to contribute to a family gratitude wheel. You can do with friends or partners too. It's just something that is, it's a nice thing to ground yourself and be reminded of. Okay. Now, again, you don't have to do a gratitude wheel if you do not want to. That's okay. Make what you need to make today. Make what feels good. Make what feels better to you. Okay? And if you do want to share any results of what you've created, feel free. Okay? Let me know. Send some pictures our way. We can share them on Facebook. You don't have to, but it's always fun to know what other people are working on. Okay? So this is a gratitude wheel, a small version of a gratitude wheel I started the other day. Pretty simple. I think I used a coffee mug to create a central circle and then to create some lines moving out. I'm going to start another one from scratch though, on a slightly larger piece of paper. Use whatever size of paper you have at hand. Okay. So what am I going to do? Gratitude wheel is like a lovely little sun about all the things that you're happy that exist in this world right now. To start, you want to give it that central spoke. And again, we're playing with themes of geocentric themes, circular designs, and every culture in the world has its own version of the wheel or the sun. It's a very universal theme. And it makes a lot of sense that it would create the core of our gratitude today. So I'm just going to trace out, these are magnets that the studio was donated. And we're turning them into new magnets for the living room. But they also make a really handy template for creating circles. You don't need to have the perfect circle, by the way. You can freehand this. Wonky circles are entirely welcome. Okay? Now, there's a lot of different ways to do a gratitude wheel. It seems that it has grown out of the world of mindfulness practice, that kind of spiritual self-care. I know a lot of creative art therapists use gratitude wheels to externalize things in a concrete way, which can be really helpful. Your wheel, your way. But if you do need some help in this, you can kind of think of dividing the spokes that radiate out from the wheel in several different ways. Think of the center of the gratitude wheel as yourself or your family, depending on who you're working on with it. And you want to, in a sense, divide up the area around that center point, that U point. Some people like thinking of each section they create in a specific way. So you could think of it as in one area represents physical aspects, one area representing spiritual aspects, emotional and mental or intellectual aspects of your life. And it's easy to see within those sections, you can divide them up even further. So spirituality might refer to your faith. It could also refer to your beliefs, your dreams, your goals. It could refer to the intangible things that you can't imagine living without. For physical, obviously that could be like our physical bodies, our health, our well-being, our ability. It could also refer to things outside of ourselves that support our physicalness, like the earth, right? The earth that holds us here, the earth that provides us with places to walk, to visit, to, air to breathe. When it comes down to emotional, for me, that overlaps into a lot of things. But I think of family, I think of love, I think of community, I think of everything that feeds my emotional well-being, right? And intellectual, well, intellectual or mental, just that could also overlap into a lot of things. Let me know what you guys are thinking about out there. With intellectual, it could be things that help us acquire things that help us achieve things. So it could be the ability to imagine, to conceptualize. It could be career. There could be lots of things tied into that. How we use that aspect of ourselves. What feeds that aspect of ourselves. Of course, like, you might have other ideas. Please share them, like I've been saying, right? What categories do you think of when you think of what you're feeling grateful for? Okay. I'm going to start just with this, filling it in with inking it in a little bit, giving it some design. And as I'm designing, I'm going to be dreaming a little bit about the things that I'm grateful for. Because we've got time today, we don't have to rush. I think recently it's been tricky for a lot of people because the speed at which we had to make these changes in our life sends out a message of urgency to ourselves. It's kind of like a rush of anxiety, I suppose, in a lot of ways. And it becomes really hard to do nothing. What's that fabulous, the John Green story? Don't just do something, stand there. I think that's what it was. When he was a chaplain, working in palliative care for a little while. The fact is we're not in control of a lot of the stuff going on in the world. We can only control how we work with it, how we manage this time. And that's a hard one for me. I don't know about you, but it's really hard to think that I can't do anything, especially for a lot of the community members out there who maybe don't have access to internet. One thing I feel grateful for, technology, how it's enabling us to connect and create with one another in these ways. So what I'll add on right now, if anybody is out there who can say hello and send my love to folks in the community who don't have regular access to internet, can you do that for me? Okay, let them know that I'm thinking of them. And that all the folks from the living room, everyone that I have been able to connect with, is thinking about them too. Our students send their love and thoughts of wellness. They're thinking of you. Yeah. But definitely a sense of a little bit of a sense of helplessness, I think. I'm sure those of us who are doing our job, doing exactly what we've been asked to do, which is stay at home, I imagine that there's also a sense of frustration at not being able to do more. We'll just have to keep reminding ourselves that we are doing exactly what we're supposed to by taking care of ourselves. We're taking care of other people too. Ah, I see Austin's joined. Hey, Austin, how are you? It's good to see you. Well, not see you. It's good to see your comments. It's good to know you're out there. What have you been working on? You had some pretty cool sketches the last time I saw you at the studio. For those of you who don't know Austin, he is one of our community artists, fantastically gifted, precise. Oh my goodness, precision is his thing, which can be frustrating sometimes. I know, when it doesn't work out the way you want to. And Anne, if you're still watching, if you're still hanging out with us, what are you working on? What have you been doing these days? I'm just going to keep inking this in. I find it really relaxing just to spend time doing little doodles like this. Gives my brain room to breathe. Just a little bit of time to think and to reflect. Let's see. And if you're typing away and I'm not answering, it could be just because there's a delay. So I want to remind everyone that I'm going to do my best to keep up with you. But it's okay too if you just want to hang out and watch and listen to me ramble on here. That's okay too. You might hear my dog Alice snoring in the background. She's having a really good snooze. I'm super grateful for my pets. For anyone else out there who has animals in their lives. Wow. I've come to a whole new level of appreciation for them. Alice is a master at self-care. I think she could teach her own classes and how to stay grounded and in the present moment. I think all animals could. But she's so good at it. She's so good at it. Damn. So I'm inking in this wheel. Taking my time. No need to rush. And here's the other thing too, if we're working on things today and by the end of this we don't get finished with them, that's okay too. It gives us a reason to come back and to keep working on them. Taking breaks in your art making is so important. I know we joke at that we joke about that at the studio. Taking breaks in art stretches sometimes, especially when you've been crunched over something, working on it for a long, long time. So let's see. So I'm hearing from Annie. Oh, trying to find some creative flow. Doodling. Yeah, doodling is the best. Especially if you're afraid to make that first mark on the page. Because it can be intimidating. In fact, Anne was someone who introduced me, like Anne and Deb Reynolds were two people who introduced me to that hardcore Zentangling world. Whew, intense. But like another way of just expressing yourself without having to worry too much about what unfolds. It really At least for me, it helps ground me and takes me into this really peaceful, kind of meditative place that not a lot of other things do. And I've learned how to transfer that over to the work I do in watercolor as well. So, folks, I'm not sure how many of you like watch Twitch or things like that. The first ever live stream that the Living Room did was actually on Twitch a few years ago. And I stayed in my comfort zone and I just played with watercolor doodling, as I call it. Because I think it becomes easy to be confident with black and white, although it's easy for me to say. But I think as soon as you add in another element that you're unfamiliar with, it can feel kind of scary. But that's what I love about art and that whatever kind of creative practice you do. It teaches me over and over again that if I have faith in myself and trust that, kind of like trusting the process, that the creative process will take care of me if I'm just honest and honest with myself and just trying to be as present as I possibly can be. I learn time and time again about just how resilient I am and that I can learn, I can overcome, I can get better at something. It never fails. I seem to be in the bubble circle kind of mood today. Working on my gratitude wheel here. It's also kind of nice to be making art and hanging out with you folks here. Because for those of you who come to the studio, you probably notice quite a lot that I don't actually make a lot of my own art when I'm there. I know some people have commented on that before. But sometimes I've joked the fastest way to stop making art is to open up an art studio. You end up helping other people create art and providing those opportunities for other people to make what they need to make. But then sometimes, if you're me anyways, you realize at the end of the day that you haven't made anything at all. So there's another thing for me to be grateful for, selfishly, that during this time I get a chance to make some art. And make some art with you in a different way. Thanks for that opportunity, folks. Let's see. How's everybody doing out there? It's one thing I really haven't asked yet, have I? How folks are coping. It's a difficult question to answer, too. So you don't have to. Just know that I'm thinking about you. Okay? And on behalf of the Living Room team, our board of directors, all our volunteers, our placement students, we're all trying to find ways that we can connect with you and keep engaging, right? And engaging doesn't necessarily mean participating in everything, making art for things. It's what works for you, okay? So if it's enough for you just to watch or to listen, that's okay. That is totally okay. If it's just comforting to have this weird voice on in the background while you do something else, that's okay too. see what we got here. Oh my goodness, Austin. Oh, guys, there's a whole conversation here that I'm just realizing is there. Okay, so Austin. Oh, yes. Okay, so Austin's been playing Animal Crossing New Horizons. Oh, cool. And it's inspired him to do some new Animal Crossing inspired crafts. This is awesome. Okay, so I had no idea what Animal Crossing was until quarantining, self-quarantining happened. Wow, that's a passionate community. And I've never played the game. I don't know really what it's about, but I'm seeing lots of really uplifting, kind of cute, happy, joyful things coming out of that community, art wise as well. There's actually someone that we met on Twitter at our last art party who has been needle felting little, I guess, symbols or creatures and critters from Animal Crossing. And you needle felt too, don't you? Oh, okay. So if you can share the photos of what you're doing, if you want to share photos of what you're doing, you are more than welcome to. You can also share them after the live stream. I'm not sure if the live stream might be impacting your ability to share that kind of content. We're all learning here, right? So you can always post it afterwards and I'll check it out, okay? I totally want to see that Animal Crossing art, Austin. Totally. Those of you, you might know Austin if you've ever come to our Handmade with Heart sales, our marketplaces in November. Austin is one of our regular, our favorites, our favorite regular vendors that are there. And he creates these fantastic gift cards, really intricately designed. Sometimes they're really funny as well. Funny, creative things. And I'm hoping, I'm hoping that at our next Handmade with Heart, he'll be back there selling his name tags or his gift tags again. And Anne, have you been needle felting? I see yay to needle felting. Please tell me that you continue to needle felt. I've actually been had a few needle felting supplies in a couple of online shopping carts, just waiting for me to press the button. But it's tricky. Sometimes those supplies, they cost a little bit of moolah, right? But yeah, you were one of the first people. You and who was it? It was Rosemary who introduced me to needle felting. And that I thank you both for. And Sam Willett got me a beautiful book about needle felting with cat hair. And believe me, folks, I've got 4 cats. So if I can just find myself a needle felting needle, I don't have to spend any other money. I've got an endless source here of cat hair that I can work with. Right? I'm just saying, those cats got to earn their keep, right? Okay. Oh, see that needle felting. What I'm loving about that too, it seems like it's a kind of art form that is shared with people. One person teaches another, and it looks like Deb Reynolds taught Annie how to needle felt. Um, I think you to the cat hair situation. Is it gross? Is cat hair any worse than sheep's wool? I don't know, right? I could wash it. I think you're supposed to wash it. Are you? I don't know. I'll go back to the book. I'll figure it out. If anyone out there has experience with needle felting with cat hair, let me know, okay? All right. So I've got the main design going on here. I think strong enough to start. Again, I'm just rolling with this. So I think I'm going to start putting in some categories But here, I'll have some coffee first. Oh, welcome, Wendy. Welcome to the comments, anyways. Okay. So you've been wanting to felt your cat out of your cat's own fur. So let me get this right. So you want to create a whole other cat that, like a replica cat, like a clone for the actual cat? I could do that too. I've got so much cat hair. That is a resource that is it's bountiful in my house. Um, Wendy, I want to see that. Okay, I dare you to needle felt your cat out of your cat's fur. I dare you. I want to see that happen. Okay, that's a whole other theme day. Oh my gosh, we could. Oh man, yeah, I want to see it. I think we will have a few more days, like a theme days here, maybe some hangouts with textile arts as well. I know not everyone has a sewing machine, so I'm trying to think of things that can be done with um, like hand sewing or stitching. I think maybe we'll get into some mending as well. Um, I've become really fascinated with the visible mending movement over the last couple of years, and just the idea of appreciating what we have and taking care of it. And when, oh, hello, Bonnie. Hey, Bonnie's, oh, it's so relaxing. Thank you. It would be horrible if it was annoying, wouldn't it? I mean, you have the freedom, you have the ability to change and to stop watching if you want to. So you do you. If it switches from being relaxing into annoying, I make no promises, okay? Um, but yes, visible mending and taking care of what we have, and just uh, it was a real steep learning curve. We went out, the living room joined in the Watershed Festival at Purple Woods and the Central Lakes of Ontario Conservation Group. We were invited as a guest host to do an art activity with everyone, with the hundreds and hundreds of kids that came through there. And it's such a great event. They had other high school students teaching younger kids about the environment and about sustainability and what we should be doing to take better care of things. And as a as a grown up, I was totally ashamed of how little I actually knew about what was happening and what we waste and what we don't appreciate. And we were working with upcycled fabrics and textiles, things, basically scraps that people throw away. Oftentimes, the phrase we have at the studio is don't throw it away, bring it to the living room, because we know that people can make art of like just about anything that's out there. And oftentimes there are things that people throw away that people in our community would love to have, right? Even if it's not a traditional or a fine arts material, people will see that bit of costume jewelry or that broken toy, and their inspiration, their imaginations get running. So we get a lot of interesting stuff, but we do get a lot of textile scraps and things like that. And sometimes they're so small that it is a bit of a challenge in the studio. People don't know what to do out of those. So we decided to make a giant art quilt of the Oshawa watershed. And it's still at the studio waiting to be completed. But on that day, I learned so much about what we waste, particularly with denim and the impact. I knew that denim and cotton, the production of cotton, had a huge impact on the environment. I just wasn't aware of just how much it impacted things. So I've made a promise to myself to try not to buy new denim and to repair my old denim as often as I can. And I've been reading up on the visible mending movement and sashiko, which is another way that's a Japanese art form all about mending and taking care of textiles, because of course textiles were like for a long time in Japan, something that were handed down from generation to generation because they were so valuable, because the fabric was a rare commodity. It took a lot of work to make cloth, so they wouldn't throw it away. And in fact, they would patch it and stitch over the patch in an incredibly beautiful design that highlighted the hole or the tear in the fabric rather than trying to hide it. Again, that tradition of really loving what we have in our lives and appreciating what we have in our lives, which feeds back into gratitude. Oh my goodness, I'm getting caught up in talking and not getting anything down on my gratitude wheel. Okay, you guys, what are you grateful for? Yeah, I'll turn it over to you. And let's create something together. So I think for me, why am I using a pencil? Let's live dangerously. Yeah, let's use a marker. Brush. I forgot. I was surprised. Oh, do I? Let's see what this one does. I'm particularly shaky today. Community. Community. You'd think I'd know how to spell community by now. C-O-M-M? C-O-M-M? Yes? Hmm. Hmm. Now let's see what I can do here. Do I turn the book? Oh, wow. Live stream challenges. Oh, my head is in the way of everything. Guys, why didn't you tell me my head was in the way of everything? All right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to turn the book a little bit. I'm just jumping in with some big ones here. There are so many things that I've become aware of that I'm grateful for, so many things that I've taken for granted. So to start, what do I have here? So at the top of my wheel, I have time, and I have community, nature, family, friends, food, connection, creativity. In each of those categories, I know there are a million different things that I can put down. But even just seeing the words on the page kind of stops me. Yeah. So grateful for laughter, humor. I think getting through times like these without laughter, without humor, I don't know how we do it. I really don't. Let's see. Yeah. And I'm going to copy you there. And put, let's see. Laughter. I'll put it with community because you guys are bringing me that kind of joy right now. And sometimes when we're doing things like this at the studio, we remind people that it only needs to make sense to you. You're creating what you need to create. Doesn't need to make sense to me or anyone who's around you, especially if it's just for you. You're the one who understands. If there are certain things you'd like to instead of putting them into words, to use symbols to create or identify. Maybe you can't use words. Maybe there just aren't words to describe what you're grateful for. Feel free to scribble something out or to doodle it or collage something in its place. Wendy's just reminded me, hugs and smiles. Yeah. Who knew, huh? Now, I come from my creative side. The world that I move in sometimes, the world of acting, and we tend to be, I mean, this is a generalization and always with consent, but we tend to be very huggy in that world. In fact, when I started the studio, I had to teach myself not to automatically hug everyone who came in the studio, that, to remind myself that not everyone wants to be hugged, Mary. Slow down, check out, consent, consent, consent. But for people where you have that shorthand, where you have that relationship where you do hug them, where you want to hug them, it's really hard. When I was out for a walk with Alice yesterday, we saw someone in the community, and standing 6 feet apart, it became this moment. It felt like a standoff of some kind, like just looking at each other, just physically wanting to hug, to embrace, just to say hi, to check in, and just feel that comfort of the physical presence of someone in your life. And we couldn't. We were able to acknowledge it though, and I think knowing that one day hugs will be back in our lives, folks. One day hugs will be back. And smiles, well, we can do that with technology. Technology, where do I put that? Technology, we can see everyone's smiles. Bonnie, if you're watching, Bonnie Stinson, who was a part of this thread, she did such a lovely video. A little help from our friends, the Beatles cover. It's so gorgeous. If you haven't watched it, check it out. Maybe I'll post it below here, because that video reminds me just how grateful I am for all the people in my life. Not just really close friends, chosen family, acquaintances, people that you begin to take for granted because you might see them frequently. Maybe they're just people at your grocery store or at work that you smile and say hello to. We forget how interconnected we all are, and how those little tiny interactions really, they help us get through the day, right? So we can use technology to try and do that. I think a lot of us, so many of us, are to remind one another that we are still here, we're still connected, we're still available to one another and for one another. If you're feeling in need of a smile, you could always send out a shout out. Send out a shout out on the Facebook or the Instagram or wherever, whatever kind of, social media platform you prefer. Send out a little, request. Smiles needed. Respond immediately. I'm sure people would be happy to send you pictures of smiles. Yeah. And the feeling of smiling is really important too. Friends, hugs and smiles. Keep it coming, folks. What else are we grateful for? Yeah, the feeling of smiling. If anyone else is out there, and if you've been watching a lot of, it's easy when you're even when you're with people that you love, when you're doing things passively, like binge watching a certain channel that has lots of TV on it, for example. Sometimes when you get really into something, you forget what it's like to smile consciously. I don't know if anyone else experiences that, but sometimes it's nice just to take a moment, almost like a mindfulness moment, to consciously choose to smile, so you can feel how it changes you, how it warms you up from the inside out, how it impacts the way you carry yourself through your day. Mindfulness smiles. Wendy, that's what we'll call them. Mindfulness smiles. You didn't ask me to name it. I just did. I don't know if that helps or not. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just winging this, guys. And Michelle, welcome, Michelle. Michelle says, distance may separate us, but smiles are always available. Oh gosh, I love that. Part of the sharing economy. Smiles. Yeah. Yeah. Smiles, I think, yeah, we'll share some. We'll figure out a way. Maybe the brain, it is working, slowly turning that over. Ah, so color, another thing that we're grateful for. Yep, I think for me, a lot of that goes into the nature category as well. The seasonal shifts, being able to see green things again, the sun coming out. I wonder if we're all looking at things and seeing things in a slightly new way. Uh, and we're noticing things more than we did before because perhaps we have this time, because I don't know why. Um, yeah, but I think we might be noticing things a little more clearly, a little more mindfully, and that is one positive side effect of everything, perhaps. And growth. Pretty soon, folks, hang in there. Pretty soon, nature is going to respond to us with color. We're going to see all those lovely green shoots and the spring flowers busting out all over. And as long as we can still go outside, which I think we can appreciate that. And then shout out to, on that note, to M. So for those of you who never met M, they are a coordinator at the LivingRoom. And for the last couple years, they've actually been studying up north at Lakehead, I believe. And if you're craving gardening talk or just wanting to connect with someone else who is gardening, M is working at a place called Bass Lake Farms. And every Sunday at the LivingRoom, well, not at the LivingRoom, but through the LivingRoom social media, M will be posting pictures about what they're working on, what they're planting on. M will be inviting you to perhaps do a little gardening of your own. If you have any questions for M about gardening or things that you can plant with the resources you might have, because again, not everyone has a yard, not everyone has, an outside even. Some of us just have a windowsill. But you can do a lot with just a little. And M will be there to help you through that if you want. So every Sunday, usually over here on our Facebook page, M will start the day, post pictures, put out questions or challenges or creative invitations. They're amazing. I just love them. And I see Jay and the kids. Hello, how are you? It's good to know you're watching. How are you? How are you guys doing? Man, I haven't seen you folks in a long time. It's good to see you virtually. Let's see. What are you guys grateful for? Yeah? That's a question. And gratitude is one of those things I think gets kind of gets caught up in like the casual kind of self-care movement that happens around us sometimes. I think gratitude is a really serious thing. It's not, I mean, it can be fun, it can be joyful, it can be really playful and fun, but when you get down to it, it's also a really kind of revolutionary activity to take a part in, to say, to really seriously ask yourself and to contemplate what you have in your life and what you want to honor somehow, right? For those of us with privilege like myself as a white settler, it's really easy. And I take it for granted quite a bit that I have what I have. So moments like this and times like this challenge me to really think about how freaking lucky I am. Now, Jay has just reminded me of a really good thing because the kids are watching. Okay, so guys, keep me accountable because during live streams, when I get into them, sometimes I might forget and I might swear. So I'm wondering if I should have a swear jar handy. The other thing that I might do is touch my face. So, okay, I'll have 2 jars next time. I will have a swear jar and a face touching jar. If you see me touch my face or if you hear me swear, I will put money into those jars and we'll donate them to a charity. Not us, not the LivingRoom charity, another charity. How's that sound? Yeah? I have to remember. Can't swear. I love swearing, folks. I really do. Keep me accountable, guys. Keep me accountable. It's good to hear that people are doing okay out there. It's good to hear that people are doing well. Oh, keep sharing what you're grateful for as well, folks. I have a feeling that this might evolve. I might keep working on this after the live stream and spend some focused time. Pre-made. Um, oh, I almost touched my face there. Uh-oh. Okay. Anna's suggesting a prepaid swear jar. So what would that look like? I'm loading the jar up with money and then I get a free pass to swear a few times? Is that what we're talking about? It's funny, it's one of those things at the studio. We, like, if you were here for the spiel initially, there's a lot of things that we ask people to consider, ways that we ask them and invite them to engage and to, again, another John Green kind of thing. Imagine other people complexly with how they engage with one another. I have never said at any time that swearing is not allowed at the studio. I have a great love for expressive language, and sometimes, some words, you just can't find words to replace them, right? Just the sounds alone are amazing. But again, the idea for me, which is where we draw the line, is swearing when it's used to intentionally hurt someone or marginalize someone. That for me is the difference. Expressive language versus hurting someone, whether it's intentional or unintentional. So we want to be careful. But yeah, a swear jar. I think I'll have that ready for next time. You can start your own at home if you like. Just an idea. You do you. You're in your own homes. You can do what you like. I'm not the boss of you, folks. Not the boss of you. I've been thinking a lot. Jenny Vandermeer asking for an example of what? Expressive language? Are you trying to trick me? No, I'm not falling into it. Not today. Maybe that's another workshop. An unsafe space after dark kind of workshop where Mary swears at people. Or not at people. Oh, no, that's exactly what I mean. Swears for people? That's odd. Okay. Hold on. I got to take a coffee break. I'm getting a little weird. Oh, unless people want to see me do that. If it's consensual, who knows? Maybe there's a fundraiser idea in there for the living room where Mary just, oh man. Oh, and from Teresa. Teresa, we miss you too. Hope you're doing well. And I know Jesus is running the restaurant still, I think. Viva Burrito, my favorite burrito place in Oshawa. Opinions are my own, not the living room's. Bye, Anne. I'm actually in the food category of my gratitude wheel here. Which is funny because if you'd asked me a couple of months ago what I was grateful for, I don't know if food would have had its own category on my wheel, but I have, like many of us, I imagine, really had a renewed appreciation for things that are nurturing us, and food being one of those things. Also, the people who help us have food, the whole production line from start to finish. The people who are helping us. In Oshawa here, we knock on wood. We've been affected by what's going on, but one of the big impacts, we did lose someone at our grocery store, and that really, really brought it home for me. Someone that you see again, a person in your community that you might smile at or wave to know they're not there because of this illness. That they're no longer with us at all on this earth is an intense feeling. And he was there because he was helping us take care of ourselves, really. So I send out my love to his family and I thank him. I thank everyone who's working out there to help keep us safe. Yeah. all the things I love. So food is just amazing. What a wonderful thing to have, and how lucky again we are that we live in a culture where we have such amazing access to food. Now, Jenny was saying again, I think this goes back to the expressive language. I think, is this what you call it? Creative word replacement? I like that very much. I do really like that. I do. Hmm. And what have I got over here? Connection is one of my categories. Hmm. What else are people grateful for? Let's keep it coming too. So if you've got something that you'd like me to add to this, or if you're working on your own gratitude wheel, feel free to share some of the things that are on your wheels that might not be on my wheels. Hmm. Interesting. So Jenny, here's a shout out, some community knowledge being shared. Jenny was just saying that We Grow Food, who are an amazing organization out there in the communities in Oshawa, anyways, and in some parts of Durham region, wherever you see kind of a garden popping up in the middle of a park or in the middle of like an urban, like a neighborhood, a city neighborhood, it's probably because of Carol and Michelle and We Grow Food and all the work they've done to create more green spaces that nurture the growth of food and harvesting of food. So these are community spaces where people can come to grow things together, nurture one another. They also provide really awesome middle spaces, their own kind of studios, but for gardening and eating and sharing of recipes and teaching those kind of cooking skills and food security skills. So Jenny was just saying that they were not declared an essential service. So what that tells me is that perhaps either a municipality or in the city that they're concerned about people coming together to garden during this time and to prepare the beds for food. But oh, yeah, that's a tricky one. There is a petition going around, so I'll take a look and see if I can find it and share it. But I also, if that is the reason the city is concerned, I do understand why they're concerned. They would have to find ways of ensuring that people are physically distancing themselves in the gardens appropriately, that they're not unintentionally creating spaces where people gather after, once the gardening team or once the people who are responsible for enforcing those social distancing guidelines leave. Um, I imagine there are a lot of things that have gone into that decision. However, there might be ways to remedy it because, of course, with growing food, if you miss the season, the opportunity to prepare the garden beds, you miss a season of growing food. And those gardens support a lot of wonderful people out there in the community. Sometimes they're a lot, like a huge part in supporting people's mental health and well-being. Um, we know that gardening, like making art, plays a huge role in people's wellness, whether it's regulating anxiety or just helping people be more mindful and in the moment. I think there's something very powerful about literally grounding yourself and digging your hands into the soil. That's so we'll see. We'll learn more about it, and maybe Jenny, you can help keep us updated about what's going on there. And if worse comes to worse, maybe there'll be an opportunity here to encourage people with We Grow Food, through We Grow Food, to encourage people to find ways of gardening in smaller and sustainable ways on their windowsill, maybe in like a couple of buckets or planters on their balconies, or if they have a yard, if they're lucky enough to have a yard or a front porch. Maybe there are ways that they can transfer what normally happens in those large community gardens to their immediate, where they live immediately. I know it's not ideal. We're thinking about the community garden at the studio as well, and we might miss the window of preparing it as well. But people keeping people safe, and through keeping the general community safe, we're also keeping all those people who are supporting us and working hard out there on our behalf. We're keeping them safe as well. We're in a tricky time, folks, a very difficult time, and my heart goes out to everyone who's been affected by it. Let's see. And yeah, so like as far as gardening goes and the creativity that goes into planning your own garden and growing your own things, if you're lucky enough, like Jay, they're planning a backyard garden. Oh, lovely. Yeah, even though it doesn't get a whole lot of sun, you can still grow things out there. There are still ways to grow things. And there are some fantastic resources out there as well. Make sure you're looking into Canadian resources as well. Maybe, who knows? Maybe Carol will have some suggestions for We Grow Food about how folks might be able to plant and grow things in areas that aren't ideal. Something can grow anywhere. It's just finding the right plant for the right place, or the right place for the right plant, depending on how you look at it. And there are some things that do well without a whole lot of sunshine, or without direct sunshine all the time. I can look into stuff, and I can ask Em for some suggestions about that as well. So tune in on CD Sundays, Jay. There might be some new resources waiting there for you. Yeah, it's, even for us at the Living Room, there's some challenges coming up that we hadn't considered, right? Summer is one of those times when people really come out and connect. It's usually the time when we do most of our big fundraisers, whether it's a big yard sale or our Taskmaster Art Challenge or a secret art sale. It's looking like it's not 100% yet, but it's looking like we'll need to, at the very least, postpone those big events or reschedule them all entirely for next year. That's going to have an impact. And we're not the only arts organizations that are dealing with this. Lots of people are having to make very difficult decisions that affect the livelihoods of their organizations. And I think if we can perhaps work together to collaborate and to figure out ways that we can support one another through this and support the organizations that we love, right? So if worse comes to worse and perhaps We Grow Food doesn't have the ability to work on the gardens in the same way that they always have, we can find ways of supporting them so that next year they can be back even stronger and do more, and that we can help let people know about what they're doing and the kind of change that they make in our communities. Oh, creativity and time. The two parts of my gratitude wheel that I haven't put anything in yet. That's interesting, huh? I am learning, but I am learning about creativity. I knew this. Oh, face touch. Ah. Okay, I'll have to put money in the jar. Okay, technical support. Anthony Granny, remind me to put money in the face touch jar. Thank you. I got a thumbs up. Okay. Oh man, I got to be careful. I am becoming really. I'm being reminded about how much there is no deficit. We have so much. There's so much we can draw from within ourselves to create. Knowing where to start sometimes is the problem, but creativity never abandons us. It's always there, that ability to make a mark, to make meaning, to transform one thing into another. It's there. And telling that inner critic to take a back seat for a little while certainly helps, because it's not always about how it looks. Sometimes it's about letting the ugly out. Sometimes it's about trying to make that mistake on purpose, or trying to push yourself in a direction you've not been before, knowing and welcoming the fact that it may not look like what you wanted it to. But it's still creativity. That journey is still an important one to take. And it will always take you somewhere better than where you were before. Even if you really, there's some folks in our community who really are very hard on themselves and their creative products. But if you can just find a way to sit through that discomfort and get to the other side, I do believe that you will be better for it. That technically you will begin to exceed where you were, that you'll discover new things that help you tell more meaningful or more enriching stories through whatever kind of art you create. It's there. It's there. You've got this. Okay? How's everyone doing with their gratitude wheels? If you're working on one, again, you might be doing something different. Time. I feel like there's some place where a lot of us are at right now where I haven't experienced boredom yet, but I've heard a lot of folks talking about boredom, and I wonder if what they mean really is kind of a restlessness that's happening, especially if you have kids who are at home. I think my lovely niece and nephews have been locked into their iPads and their iPhones for the last little while, and I'm beginning to get worried about them. Um, but then I hear people like Austin playing Animal Crossing, and I'm like, oh, okay. So there is a community out there as well. Stop being weird, old person. Let it be. Um, but having this time together, this unprecedented amount of time where we need, if you are living with other people where you have to be together, if you're on your own, that feeling of, I don't know. I mean, the worry, the concern I think so many of us have is how things can switch from being, like isolated to isolation, feelings of isolation, which is not so good. And just knowing that you have this time and not knowing how much time there is, all of those things can be really unsettling and cause a real sense of unrest in each of us. I'm aware of that. I'm thinking of everybody out there and wondering how you're coping with that. If you're lucky, you have folks around you who can keep you creative and keep you on track, and perhaps you've created new routines for yourselves about how to get through the day. I'm hoping that the living room can play even a small role in being a part of those routines, maybe sparking some new things for you creatively speaking, or I don't know, right? Like perhaps creating new ways of connecting, introducing new ways of connecting for folks who've never really used technology before even. But if you've got there are things you're struggling with and that you want support on, know that you can reach out through us or to us, and we'll do what we can. There are a million other fantastic resources out there in the community as well. In Oshawa specifically, I know our MPP Jennifer French has created a fantastic newsletter that you can sign up for that gives you updates about where things are at with the virus and kind of infrastructure updates about what is and what is not happening in the city, what you can and cannot do right now. But she's also loading these emails or these newsletters with lots of links that about new things that are emerging every day in community, how people are becoming resourceful and creating opportunities to connect in new ways. A lot of it is virtually, it is online. So again, another blessing, for that privilege that I'm someone who can afford to interact with you folks like this. I'm so grateful for that. But again, if you like doing the newsletter thing, I'd encourage you to visit her page and her Facebook page and check in about how you can sign up for that, just so you can be kept in the loop about what's happening, because things are changing every single day. And again, every single day that we do this, that we stay at home, that we distance ourselves from the folks that we love and the folks that we appreciate in our lives, we're helping, we are making a difference, even though it's not always easy to remember that. Okay? You're making a difference, so thank you. Time. Yeah, the time we have to be to reflect and be restless is also time that, this kind of time is when new ideas emerge as well, isn't it? Making space for things to shift and grow. When we're busy, busy, busy all the time, that isn't always able to happen. At least for me, it isn't. So I'm trying to be mindful of even doing everything I'm trying to do through the living room to create space for myself while we still have it, where we can create and innovate and imagine the future that we will emerge from and into once this time passes, because it will. All right, let's see. Oh, so Jay's got some online resources. So I'm going to share them with you folks, although you could probably read them too. Toronto Zoo is making zookeeper videos. Oh my goodness. About various animals, and there are, oh wow, and a lot of online art tutorials. Yeah, paint nights, but online. I know folks like Georgia Fullerton, who's an amazing local artist. She's brilliant, and she's doing online paint nights. I've seen those events happening. So again, I'm getting overwhelmed again, folks. I need to slow down. Hold on, gonna have a sip of coffee. There are a lot of online resources. So perhaps, Jay, this amazing list of things you're mentioning here, perhaps you could maybe put together a little list of things and message them to me, and then I can share them online with everyone through Facebook and the various social media, magical computery things. Because yeah, that's seeing how resourceful and how resilient people are, particularly artists, during this time has been so inspiring for me. Artists, we just do things, right? I think that was Catherine Richards who said that, for the better or for worse. We don't wait around, which is why this time can be complicated for us too, because we're so used to hustling. If you're someone, artist or not, and you're used to hustling every day to make things happen, if you're like me, you're probably going to be struggling a bit with letting go. But knowing that, there's enough of us out there who are working to create ways for people to connect. I think for me, that's really inspiring. Georgia doing paint nights. I know some friends of mine who are playwrights, Scott and Pete, White and Fenton and White. They're beginning to share music from the musical they were working on that kind of got shut down when all this happened. There are a million different things out there. So taking our time and knowing that we'll find them when we're meant to find them, that's okay too. But we'll share a couple of those resources. Excellent, thank you, Jay. And we'll get it out to folks, yeah? Sing Along Tim, another thing. So if you've got kids, if you don't know Sing Along Tim, they're a fantastic kids band. very zany, very smart, sometimes saucy and sassy, and that's what I like about them so much. But they are also doing weekly live stream concerts that kids and family members can tune into. Amazing. Okay, enough. Okay, enough. Get back to the art, Mary. Coffee. So there's spots on this gratitude wheel that still need to be filled in. I do want to take my time with this and really, really focus, really think, really reflect on what it is that I have in my life that I appreciate and I honor. I don't want to have to rush it. So I don't think this will be complete by the end of this live stream. I will complete it and share it with you, I promise, in the next few days. Next steps that I'll take, I don't know. I think I'm probably going to begin adding color once everything is in place. Again, using simple materials. I've got some watercolors over here and pencil crayons. I think I'll just start highlighting things. And I might even look into circling or highlighting somehow the things in here that really jump out at me. So even after I finish filling everything in, taking a break, walking away from it, returning and looking to see, if there are repeated themes, for example. I'm already noticing that love is coming up in a lot of these categories, that joy and laughter, like Wendy was saying, is coming up in a lot of these categories. That physical, that kind of connectivity, that feeling of not being alone, even though I'm not near a lot of the people in my life that I love. That is huge. That sense of connection, that's a repeated theme that's coming up in here. Feeling supported, whether it's by the earth and nature or my family or my friends or food or the connection. Support, that word is popping up in here quite a bit. So I think one of the things I'll do once I've completed filling it in as much as I can, as much as I feel comfortable, I'm going to go through and highlight things. And maybe if there are repeated patterns, I'll give them the same color so that I can visually see just how important, how big a theme it is in my life. And if you feel like doing that too, you're more than welcome. You might have other ways that you like doing gratitude wheels, and again, I would love to see them. So if you do feel like sharing pictures of what you've been creating today, whether it's a gratitude wheel or if it's something else, feel free. Again, reminding one another that we're here and we're doing okay as we can. And I think that's going to be an important thing, right? And we're going to be back here next, what day is it today? Next Wednesday. If we're not here, and we'll make another event posting for it as well, but if we're not here, we might be over on YouTube doing a similar thing, just a live stream hangout for people. If you guys have any feedback or if you have any suggestions about activities you'd like to see us try or do together at the Pop-Up Art Hive, if you have art that you'd like us to share, or again, like Jay, like if you know of resources that we can share with the community, please feel free to send them our way. We'll keep connecting, we'll keep creating, and we'll keep appreciating one another, even if we can't be in the same space with one another right now. Grateful. I'm super grateful for everyone that's out there and everyone who's dropped by today to participate, and everyone who might watch this later after the live stream is complete. That's okay too. We're thinking about you as well and sending you loads and loads and loads and loads of love. Thank you for everything you're doing, everyone, everywhere, to keep us and our communities safe. And hello to anyone who's been watching from out of town or is watching from out of town. We're sending lots of love and wellness your way too. But I think for today, that's enough. Yeah? Oh, Nicole, hello. Nicole's just joining us now, or in the chat anyways. Oh, wow. The gratitude wheel? Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So if you're making yours, I really mean it. Share the images if you feel comfortable of what you've created after. And if there's other things you're working on, we'd love to see those things as well. Okay. Again, it's strange being in my own living room, connecting with you about the living room. But I realized that it isn't as much as the place provides this way of us for us to connect and be together. The thing that matters most is the people. I think the people make the space. So as long as we still have the community, we can create our own art hive wherever we are. It's the people that make the place. Placemaking is about people, isn't it? I'm grateful. I'm grateful for all of you. But I guess I'm going to call it wraps for today. Thank you for hanging in there and watching and being a part of it. Thanks for chatting with me and letting me know that I'm not alone. I really do appreciate that. And I guess we'll see you again soon next week for another live stream. We do Tuesday Instagram chats, and Wednesday we do these live streams. There's still stuff happening on the Living Room page. Tomorrow we have, it's our Casual Thursdays day. So to tell you the truth, I don't even know what's happening yet. We have some students and volunteers and coordinators working on some projects to share with you. So I'm excited about it. And then Friday, tune in for some wonderful creative writing prompts and the sharing of different poetry and music that will hopefully inspire you to create and act as a soundtrack for whatever you're working on at home. But in the meantime, take care, keep creating, and see you soon. Okay? Bye. Okay, now how do I turn this off? Ah, there it is. End live video. Love you guys.